Welcome to the Mycitizenagency channel. Relocating to another country often starts with one big question: am I leaving temporarily, or do I want to build a new life there permanently? At first sight, it seems like it's just a matter of mood. Today you want to give it a try, tomorrow you want to stay. But in practice, a lot depends on this decision. The choice of country, the type of visa, expenses, documents, taxes, work, your children's education, buying a home, and even how you'll plan the next few years of your life. In this video, we'll take a look at how a temporary relocation differs from permanent immigration, who each option is best suited for, what mistakes people most often make at the start, and how to choose the path that truly fits your situation. Important, there is no universal answer here, because the right decision doesn't depend on trends, advice from friends, or flashy videos online. It depends on your goals, resources, profession, family, age, finances, readiness for change, and legal options. A temporary relocation is when a person goes to another country for a limited period of time. For example, to study, work on a contract, do an internship, work on a seasonal project, receive medical treatment, recover, work remotely, or simply to experience life in a new environment. The main feature of a temporary move is that you do not necessarily plan to immediately obtain permanent residency, citizenship, or tie your entire future life to that country. For many people, this is a very sensible approach, especially if you are not entirely sure, if you have never lived abroad before, or if you have doubts about the language, profession, climate, culture, or financial burden. A temporary move is often seen as a trial period. It helps you see real life, not just the tourist picture, because vacation and everyday life are completely different things. When you arrive as a tourist, you see beautiful streets, cafes, landmarks, and a pleasant atmosphere. But when you live in a country for several months, other questions arise: how to open a bank account, how to find accommodation, how the healthcare system works, how much insurance costs, whether public transportation is convenient, how to deal with government services, how employers react to foreigners, and whether your income is enough for everyday life. That is exactly why a temporary move can be a good first step. Permanent immigration is a more far-reaching decision. In this case, a person views the country not as a temporary place of residence, but as a new home. This means you're thinking not only about the coming year, but also about the future, where you'll work, where your children will go to school, whether you can obtain permanent residency, what the requirements for citizenship are, how the pension system works, whether you can start a business, buy real estate, bring your family over, and make long-term financial plans. When immigrating permanently, it's not just the relocation itself that matters, but also the legal path to a stable status, because it's one thing to come for a few months and quite another to build a life where you have rights, stability, and a clear future. Here, it's especially important to assess the country's requirements in advance. In some countries, the path to permanent status can take several years. You must comply with visa conditions, prove your income, pay taxes, keep your job, study, run a business, or meet other criteria. And if a person understands from the very beginning that they want to stay for the long term, they should choose not just a convenient visa for the present, but a path that can lead to a long-term outcome. Before deciding between a temporary relocation and permanent immigration, it's important to ask yourself honestly, what's motivating you? Sometimes people want to leave because they're tired of instability, work, their surroundings, daily life, and uncertainty, and those are understandable feelings. But if the decision is based solely on the desire to get away from somewhere, there's a risk of disappointment, because there will be challenges in the new country too. There may be a different language, different rules, an unfamiliar job market, bureaucracy, loneliness, high living costs, and the need to start over in many ways. That's why it's important to define not only what you want to leave behind, but also what you want to achieve. When the goal is clear, the choice becomes much easier. A temporary relocation can be a good option if you're not yet sure you want to stay in your new country permanently. For example, you want to try living abroad, but you still have a job, a home, family obligations, or a business at home. You're not ready to suddenly sell everything, close up shop, relocate, and completely change your way of life. A temporary format is also suitable for those who want to get a feel for a country. Let's say you think Portugal, Germany, or Spain is the perfect option. But until you've lived there as part of your daily lifestyle, you won't know how well the country suits you. Temporary relocation is often chosen by students, contract professionals, entrepreneurs, remote workers, families who want to give their children a year of education abroad, or people who want to take their time getting their bearings. Another advantage of a temporary relocation is less psychological stress. When you tell yourself, I'm going to give it a try, the decision doesn't feel so heavy. You don't have to immediately answer the question of where you'll spend the rest of your life. You're giving yourself time. But temporary relocation also has its downsides. The main drawback is the limited nature of your status. Not every temporary visa leads to a permanent residence permit. Sometimes a person lives in a country for several years and then realizes that this period doesn't count toward long-term status or doesn't allow them to stay. Therefore, even if you're relocating temporarily, it's important to find out in advance. Can you extend your status? Can you change the basis of your stay? Can you switch to a work, business, student, or family visa category? And is there a prospect of permanent residency? A temporary move shouldn't be chaotic. Even a trial period is best planned with future options in mind. Permanent immigration is better suited for those who have already made a strategic decision to build a life in another country. For example, you realize that you want to obtain permanent residency, move your family, enroll your children in school, advance your career or business, integrate into society, learn the language, and eventually apply for citizenship. This choice requires more preparation. You need to consider not only do I like the country, but also practical matters. Do you have a profession that is in demand? Are you prepared to pay taxes in your new country? Is the climate and culture a good fit for your family? Is there access to healthcare? What are the conditions for children? How much does accommodation cost? Permanent immigration is not just about relocating, it is a project spanning several years. And the better you prepare, the fewer surprises there will be after your arrival. It's important to understand, the desire to stay permanently must align with legal feasibility. Sometimes people choose a country based on emotion, only to discover later that they lack a valid basis for long-term residency. Or they have a visa, but it doesn't lead to permanent status. Or the income requirements are higher than expected. Or their profession requires a license that's difficult to obtain. Therefore, when planning long-term immigration, a professional assessment of the situation before submitting documents is particularly important. Very often, people choose a country based on the following reasons. I liked it there on vacation. Some friends moved there. I saw a beautiful video. It's warm there. Everyone says it's easy to adapt there. Emotions are important. It's impossible to live in a country you don't like at all. But emotions shouldn't be the only criterion. The country must be a good fit for you legally, financially, and practically. For example, a country might be wonderful for vacationing but difficult for finding work, or comfortable in terms of climate but expensive for a family, or attractive in terms of quality of life but with very strict visa requirements, or suitable for students but not the easiest for obtaining permanent residency later on. That's why the right choice doesn't start with the question, where is it more beautiful, but with the question, where do I have real opportunities? Relocating is not just about tickets and the first month's rent. It involves a security deposit for accommodation, insurance, document translation, fees, consultations, visa processing, airfare, an adaptation period, purchasing furniture, transportation, communication services, healthcare, school or daycare, taxes, and a financial cushion for unexpected expenses. When relocating temporarily, it's important to understand how long you can get by without a steady income. When immigrating permanently, you need to consider whether you can withstand several years of adaptation and meet the country's financial requirements. Sometimes people migrate with a tight budget, and then any delay with documents or work becomes a major source of stress. Therefore, before making a decision, it's worth drawing up a realistic financial plan for at least the first 6 to 12 months. If you're relocating alone, you have more flexibility. But if you're relocating with your partner, children, or elderly parents, you need to take everyone's interests into account. For families, key considerations include schools, healthcare, safety, language, employment opportunities for the other adult, cost of living, neighborhood, access to transportation, and social integration. Sometimes a country is a perfect fit for one person but turns out to be difficult for a family. For example, an adult might find a job quickly, but a child may struggle at school. Or one partner might get a visa while the other isn't allowed to work. Or the family might not account for the costs of healthcare and education. That's why, when choosing between a temporary relocation and permanent immigration, you need to discuss not only the documents, but also the quality of life for every family member. To figure out which path is right for you, answer these 10 questions. First, do you want to try living abroad, or are you certain you want to stay for the long term? Second, do you have a specific country in mind, or are you just comparing options? Third, do you have a basis for legal residency? Fourth, does the chosen status lead to permanent residency? Fifth, are you ready to learn the language and integrate? Sixth, do you have financial reserves? Seventh, how will the relocation affect your career? Eighth, how will the relocation affect your family? Ninth, are you prepared for the fact that adaptation may take anywhere from a few months to several years? 10th, what would constitute a successful outcome for you in 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years? If most of your answers sound like I want to give it a try, I'm not sure yet, or I need time, a temporary move might be a better fit for you. If, on the other hand, you answer, I want to build a life there, permanent status is important to me, I'm ready to plan years ahead, then you should consider permanent immigration and immediately choose the path that aligns with that goal. Mycitizenagency does more than just help you fill out paperwork. The real work begins much earlier, with an analysis of your situation. Our specialists take a look at your goals, profession, income, family situation, education, work experience, desired countries, and timeline. After that, we can figure out which options are actually available, what requirements need to be met, what documents to prepare, and what risks are involved in advance. This is especially important when someone is choosing between a temporary relocation and permanent immigration, because sometimes a temporary option can be structured to serve as the first step toward long-term status. And sometimes, on the other hand, it's better not to waste time on a temporary solution and instead prepare documents right away for a more permanent path. The main thing is not to make a decision blindly. Relocating to another country isn't a single moment. It's a whole new life path. For some, the right decision is to live abroad temporarily, gain experience, compare expectations with reality, and only then decide whether to stay or not. For others, on the contrary, it's important to make a long-term plan right away. Choose a country, status, job, education, documents, and the prospect of permanent residency. There is no wrong choice between a temporary relocation and permanent immigration. There is a choice that is right or wrong for you specifically. So before you submit documents, buy tickets, and change your life, ask yourself the key question: what goal do I want to achieve with this relocation? If you're just planning to immigrate to the EU and want to understand whether you have a realistic basis for applying for citizenship, submit a request for a free consultation via the link in the description. We will review your situation, create a personalized immigration plan for you, and prepare a complete set of documents to successfully obtain citizenship in one of the EU countries. We work on a one-on-one basis, taking into account your goals, your lifestyle, and your specific circumstances. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in this topic, subscribe to our channel and feel free to ask questions in the comments. We'll regularly publish program reviews, answer frequently asked questions, and share important news about immigration law and life in the EU. Your journey to Europe begins with the first step. Mycitizenagency is here for you every step of the way.